Okay, a happy Yisru Chag to all. Good Erev Shabbos, and we are up to Daf Tes Vav Amid Beis. We're about 10 lines up. That the Kohen Nichlas the Heichel Upon Yaminoi, he would go into the Heichel and he would turn to the right. My timer, Damamar Kol Pina Shat the Poina Lo Yeh El Derech Yamin. When you go up the Mizbeach, guys, you'll be going from south to north. So you'd always turn to the east, because you'd always go around counterclockwise. Any time you turn in Judaism, for example, by Boichal, you always turn to the right. We learn from here, you always turn to the right. We saw the only time that people go to the left that they were mourners. They were mourners. They would say, why are you going to the left? And they would say, because we lost somebody, and would give people the chance to go ahead and be Menachem Aval. But always Kol Pinash at the Poina El Yamin. You learn it from the Yam Shel Shlomo. Makam Hayasham Ama Alama. There was a place there, a tablet on the floor that was 1 amma by 1 amma with it was attached an iron ring, and you'd pick it up, okay? And there they would take the offer for the Sotah. Turn Rabbanon. It says Umina offer asheyiyeh. The pasuk says by the Sotah, the lachak hakoyin mayim kedoshim. The kohen would take mayim kedoshim was from the kiyar, kekli cheres in the kli cheres. Umina offer asheyiyeh bekarka hamishkan, and the dirt that is in the karka of the mishkan, yikach hakoyin, the kohen should take v'nasan el hamayim, and he should put it to the water. So it's mashmi, he has to take earth that's from the karka of the mishkan. So with that in mind, okay, now it says the ofar sheyiyah, that will be. So what happens if you would go ahead, take dirt, put it in a box, and then bring it into the Mishkan? So yiyah, it's in the Mishkan, right? That would fulfill the words of the pasuk, asher yiyah. So to go ahead and say you can't do that, Talmud Leimar, bikarka ha-Mishkan. Then it says bikarka ha-Mishkan. It's mashma, you have to take dirt from the Mishkan itself. Bikarka ha-Mishkan. However, conversely, if you would just say karka ha-Mishkan, yachol yachbar bikardumois, I might think you'd have to take a shovel and go ahead and dig. Talmud Leimar, that will be. So in other words, we have a conflict in the pasuk. It's mashma, it's enough to be in the Mishkan. On the other hand, it's mashma, it has to be the karka of the Mishkan. How do you go ahead and reconcile those differences? Well, they let you out of prison, Avi? What are you doing there? In orange? Look at you. You look like you're free. Right.
Wear the stripes on your orange suit. You need stripes.
Free of the bondage. Okay, anyway, we're up to Tesvav on the base at the bottom. So it says Ashayiyah, and it says Bikarka Mishkan. You have this conflict, fellas, right? So how do you go ahead and reconcile that? Ketzad Yesham. If you have in that area, that underneath that area, Hava, bring it. Ain't Sham. If you don't have, then it's not enough to just bring it into the Mishkan, but Tain Sham, put it in there and then take it out from there. So if you have an area that was underneath this tile, you would lift up the tile. If there was existing dirt, then you'd be able to take the existing dirt. If there's not existing dirt, you'd bring in dirt, but it's not enough to bring it in because that's only a shayiyah. You'd have to then put it in that spot, and that would fulfill both. A shayiyah, that is karka mishkan, from the karka of the mishkan. So this brisa, the first part of the brisa says you would not be able to use dirt that you just bring in. You'd have to, if you didn't have in that place, you'd bring in and put in that place. That's what the brisa says. Hani idach, we have another brisa. Umina afar ashayiyah, again the same pasuk from the afar ashayiyah b'karka mishkan. Malamed shahayu metaken mibechutz umachnis. It says ashayiyah. In other words, it's enough to just bring it in. It doesn't have to be in that spot. Bring it in, and once it's in there, ashayiyah, it's there. You do not have to go to this amma by amma place. Just bring it in. What do you do? Bikarka hamishkan. Then what do you do with the words ashayiyah? I understood that. It says karka hamishkan. According to you, you're not using the karka of the mishkan at all. Isi ben Yehuda lehevi. It comes to include karka shiloi noiv v'givon beis alamim. Now the mishkan was in Shiloh, the mishkan was in Nov and Givon, and the Mishkan was, and the Beis Elamim is the Beis Hamikdash. If you look at Rashi, fellas, ain't it Sarich? It just says the rabbis Beis Elamim, only Beis Elamim. Rashi does not say you need to learn Shilai or Noiv Givman. It's not necessary. It's a Taisus over here that gets into discussion of whether they would go ahead and you would think you don't go ahead and bring a Sotah in any which place. Therefore, you need a plastic to be marba Beis Elamim. Because Rashi says, guys, in Shila you would not have a Sotah. In Noiv Givon, Shila it's not necessary because Shila is the Mishkan, and Noiv Givon it's not necessary because you would not let them drink there. Because Noiv Givon there was no Aron there. There was no Aron there. Therefore, what the Sotah wouldn't drink there. So Rashi's only gar is Beis Elamim. You only need the Beis Elamim because the Beis Elamim is not called Mishkan. Taisus disagrees. You'll see yourself if you're interested. So that's what we learned from Karkas HaMishkan. To be marba that the Beis Hamikdash there's a din of Sotah there as well. Isi ben Menachem Omer, ain't it sarich? It's not. You don't need to be marba Beis Elamim. Why? Uma betuma kala. A tumakala walking into the Beis Hamikdash would carry its kal because it's kaviyachal only the chiyuv of karis. Lechilik hakasiv between the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash. Betuma eishes ish chamura lekolshkin. Tumas eishes ish which is a din of chenek, right? Which and the Arba Mitzvahs Bezdin, it's a higher arc in the hierarchy of death. It's higher than karis. So ma'adach le'inyan. Going to the Beis Hamikdash Tomei. There's no difference between the Beis Hamikdash and the Mishkan, and that's an Issachar. Certainly in the Surchenik of a Tumah of an Esesich, which is more Chomer, there is no distinction between the Beis Hamikdash and the Mishkan. If there was a Sotah by the Mishkan, there was a Sotah by the Beis Hamikdash. So question, in Cain, why do you use the pasuk of the Karka HaMishkan for, according to Isi ben Menachem? Why do you lose it for? Says the Gemara, you should not bring it in just in a box, but what should you do? Bring it in and put it in that ground. So Ishi ben Menachem is the Tana of the first brisa, guys. Isi ben Yehud is the Tana of the first brisa. So we have a difference between the first brisa and the latter brisa. In the first brisa, you'd have to bring it in the dirt and put it in the ground itself. In the second brisa, according to the Tanakama, according to Isi or the Tanakama, you would not have to go ahead and do that. You would just bring it in alone. Isi ben Yehuda also would seemingly agree with that because he uses the Karka Mishkan to teach me a din of what the din of Timar ben Beis Elamim. So therefore, says the Gemara. So we have that sheet. Okay, there was a Rashi over here. Rashi simply says that the second brisa is what this opinion of Isi ben Menachem is the same as the first brisa. Okay, I just spoke a lot. Let me just summarize quickly. Okay, it says you should. The pasuk says that you should go ahead and take from afer ashayiyah, from the offer that is the karka hamishkan. Ashayiyah means it just has to be there. The karka hamishkan has to be from the karka hamishkan. How do you fulfill both? Right? Ashayiyah, you bring it in. And then the Karka Mishkan, if you don't have, you take from the Karka Mishkan. That's the way the first price learns, and that's the way Isi ben Menachem learns. Isi ben Yehuda learns, no, Ashayiyah is enough. And what do you learn from Karka Mishkan? That not only is including the Mishkan, but Beis Elamim, according to Rashi, even what the Beis Hamikdash as well, that they go ahead to give Sotah drink in the Beis Hamikdash. Iboilu, we have a following shaila. Ein sham offer mahu shayitain afer. There's not offer, but there's air. Can you use ash? Let's say there's no, for whatever reason, there's no available earth. Even according to Mandiyama Ashayiyah, let's say you're with concrete all around. In other words, hypothetically, you can't get any dirt. What's the din about what? Using afer, ash. Now, we have a machloikas between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel by Kisei Adam. We know there's a parsha in the Torah of Kisei Adam for an oif and for what? A chaya. That after you shecht it, you have to cover the blood. And we know that Beis Shammai says you have to use offer. You can't use anything else. Beis Hillel says you could use afer. So the question is, like Beis Hillel, who says you could use afer by Kisei Adam, would you be able to use afer by Sotah? That's the shaila. Guys, you hear the shaila. Iboiluhu. Says the Gemara the following shaila. Ain't sham offer. If you don't have offer, ma'u sheyitain afer. What about putting ash there? Now, I'll leave it to Beis Shammai, who says by Kisei Adam, you cannot use ash. Like Tiboila, there's no shaila. The Amri loimatzino efa shikari offer. We never find ash called offer. The play on words. we don't find Afer called Offer. So therefore, just like Kisi Adam, you need Offer, not Afer. So to by Sotah, you need Offer, not Afer. Kiti Boilach, when is the Shaila of what? Of the Gemara? Aliba the Beis Hillel, the Ami Matsino Afer Shakari Offer. We find Afer that's called Offer. By what? By Kisi Adam. Right? That's Meya.
Just logistically, I understand the question. It's not like the Sotah story moved around, all over the place. It could happen anywhere. It happened to where the Mishkan was. When they prepared the Mishkan, then they prepared so that it can cover this story also.
Hypothetically, let's say it was very, very busy season, and they ran out of dirt. Again, Gemara is asking a Shaila, alum the Shaila may. You understand? It's asking, let's say for whatever reason, can Offer be Afer? We find in other place that Afer is Offer. What about a Sotah? That's what we want to know. Is it the same thing as Kisi Adam or not?
Right.
My Afagav the Ikri Offer Hacha Bekarka Mishkan Ksiv, even though Afer is called Offer by Kisi Adam. Why would it be different over here? Because it says Karka Mishkan, and Karka, guys, is mashma dirt and not Afer. Idilma Hai Bekarka Mishkan L'Chisi Ben Yehuda, either Ve'isi Ben Yehuda who uses it to teach me the Mara Beis Lamim, or L'Chisi Ben Menachem who says you'd have to take from that spot. But it's lav dafka that you offer rather than Afer. So that's the Shaila. Light Beis Hillel by Sotah, is it dafka because you need similar to the Karka Mishkan? Or no, I'll use Karka Mishkan for the din of Isi Ben Yehuda, Isi Ben Menachem. That was the din of Tamarba, the Beis Salamim, or to go ahead and say you have to bring it in from outside and put it there. What about Afer? That's the Gemara Shaila. Okay, very, very Geshmaka Gemara, guys. Very Geshmaka Gemara. Now we know we have a concept of Tana V'Shayar. Good. So let's do the following. I'm going to bring in three cases where the Allah Moshe Sinai overrode the Pasha the Pasuk. Pasha the Pasuk, we have a psukim that speak about the Nazir. We saw that we know that what? That the Nazir has to can't cut his hair. It says with a razor. Comes along the Allah Moshe Sinai, anything else. It says by get. It says you write a get on a sefer, on a piece of parchment. We know that the Allah Moshe Sinai, you can even write the get on a tree, as long as it's disattached, you could write it on an olive thing. So we have places where that the Allah Moshe Sinai overrides what? Overrides. So we have a Kisi Adam, right? Kisi Adam, it says offer, Afer works. We have Nazir, it says razor, Issa, everything. We have over here, we have the case of get, la dafka, a document, anything. Says the Gemara, if in fact you could use Afer by sight, that would have been included. Says the Gemara, be Paisha the Shaila, Tashma. The Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shmuel. Says Rabbi Yochanan named Rabbi Shmuel, the Shloishim Akaimis halacha oikeves mikra hatayra. Mikra, stop. The halacha of Moshe Sinai stops the Torah. It overrides the Torah. HaTorah Amra ba'afar. It says by Kisi Adam, you should cover the blood ba'afar. Ba'alacha b'chol davar, anything. HaTorah Amra b'tar by the Nazir. We're all expert in that by now. Ba'alacha b'chol davar, even use it. Guys, we said, right? Remember, guys, we said even if you put your hair on purpose in your head and you go ahead and comb with your fingers and any hair falls out, you be chayiv. Right? The Torah says sefer by because of a sefer krisus. Ba'alacha b'chol davar. And the halacha is you can even write on an alei zayis. So v'im isa, and if it's true that you could go ahead and use Afer by the Sotah instead of Afar, lichshav nami hai. Let's consider this one. Ella must be you can't use it. Ella must be you can't use it. That's the Gemara's raya. Good. So 3 places. If Sotah was in the ballpark, it'd be listed as well. Now we have a rule in Shas that if the Torah just doesn't go speak, right? It'll learn something and it'll leave something else out. If it's only one thing, it'll bring it. So that's the teretz. That's the teretz. I got 3. If Sotah was the only thing, it would have brought it. Since it doesn't bring it, Sotah must not be with Be'efer. On the B'Shayar, I'm going to show leave something else out. So once you leave something else out, you leave out Sotah. The Gemara is going to conclude, fellas, that there's nothing else left out. Okay. So again, the Gemara gets a little involved, so I'm trying to foreshadow it with you. the Gemara is going to assume that, in fact, these are the only three places, and therefore Sotah not. Says the Gemara, no, Sotah yes, and something else not. So now, then you have no raya. And we're going to constantly go ahead and be getting rid of this one, and we're going to be left with Sotah. Let's see the Gemara. It says in the Gemara inside, Tana v'Shaya. We learned those three, and Sotah as well. V'Shaya, we left out Sotah. We left out Sotah. Says the Gemara, my Shaya, the high Shaya. Well, if it's only one, I'm going to bring it. If it's two, I won't. If it's one, I will. So obviously, if you tell me you left out Sotah, and you could use Afer, it must be you left out something else. What else is that? Says the Gemara, we left out Mitzayra. Okay, let's go back to our Nazir days, guys. We're all experts in Mitzayra. Let's go through it. The Mitzayra is outside the camp. The Kohen comes, he checks him out. He sees that he is cured. He's going to bring two birds, a Shni Talas and an Ezoiv. He's going to shech one bird in a Mayim Chayim, water from a fountain. The blood's going to drip in the water. He's going to take the bird and the live bird and the dead bird and spitz it on the site. And the Mitzvah took a body shave. 7 days later, he's going to take another body shave. Now, the first body shave is complete. In the first body shave, it says the Torah, we take off all this hair. The second body shave, it doesn't say that. We're going to learn out the second body shave from the first body shave. So now, says the Gemara. Okay, so Tana v'Shaya, my Shaya, the high Shaya. We left out Sotah, we left out Mitzayra. It says v'hoya b'yam hashvi yigalach es kol sa'oroi. You should cut off. If this sounds familiar, guys, we had this in Nazir. Yigalach kol sa'oroi klal. Kol sa'oroi means all his hair. Es roishoi, the hair of his head. The esekonoi, his beard. Ves gabes einav, and his eyebrows. Prat, those are specifics. Then it goes ahead and says ves kol sa'oroi yigalach. Because of the klal. What's our rule? Klalu pratu klal, iyatadon el kena prat. If you have a rule, a specific and a rule, we're going to go ahead and use the specific to define the rule. Ma prat mafurish mokam kinas seir. But when, look at guys, roishai, all here comes together, right? It comes together, and you can see it. So kanoi, a bunch of hair comes together, you can see a person's beard. And what about his eyebrows? A bunch of hair comes together, and you can see it. Ma prat mafurish mokam kinas seir vinera. Av kol mokam kinas seir vinera. Good. So now, ma Rabbi, what does this come to include? Seira haraglayim. It comes to include the seir of your private spot. My miyut the beit shechi. It would include the beit shechi. In other words, if a person is not wearing clothing, you would see the hair is in his erva. You would see the hair. So it's all there. It's all there, and it's near leinayim. Conversely, the armpit here, when a person is closing his arm, you don't see it. So that, in other words, so according to this, the Mitzayra's second giluach, you wouldn't have to cut off all his hair. You'd have to leave the hair of his armpit. Or the kuli gufa, my mir the beis hashech, the kuli gufa in the rest of his body. In other words, let's say here that's not konus. Let's say here on his legs or something. That's not konus. And what's that? So therefore, the limit from the pasuk, guys, is you don't do a total body shave on the second, guys. The limit from the pasuk is you don't do a total body shave. The hilchasa, you know what the halacha is? The galeach kidalas. You go ahead and you shave him like a gourd, mamish completely. So l'chayra, what do you see? You see that what? The halacha overrides the Torah. So in fact, guys, Sotah, you could use Afer. Why is it included with those three? Because we left it out. What did you leave out Sotah with Sotah that is not included? Mitzayra. Mitzayra, the second Giluach should not include all body here that's not konis or that's golui, such as the Beis HaShechi, your armpit, and other places where it's not konis together. Kamashmal and halacha that. So right now, you could use Afer. Now, how do you know that you cut off the whole Ditnan? You got to go ahead and be maked with the Mitzayra. Mavir taral kol b'sarai. You go ahead and you put hair over his, you cut a tar on all his skin. Ukatani safe, ubiyam hashmini. This is the second one. Megalchay, the glachas shnias kid glachas v'shayna. The second, now we know the first shaving clearly is a pasuk. The second shaving is similar to the first shaving. And just like the first shaving was a total body job, so too was the second shaving. So guys, what are we holding right now? We're holding right now that Sotah, in fact, you could use Afer, and the reason it's not counted with the three, Kisei Adam, Nazir, and Get, is because we also, in addition to Musaita, we just left out Mitzvah as well. How are we doing? We're good? Okay, Baruch Hashem. Now the Gemara is going to give three terutzim, guys. The Gemara is going to give three terutzim why it's not sheer. The Gemara is going to give three terutzim. In other words, we're going to reinstate that you can't use Afer, guys, that you can't use Afer by Sotah. Why? Because Mitzvah is not left out. Where do you see this? Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, Kika Choshev, Halacha Oikeves, Mikra, Ha'oikeves, Midrabanon. The three we considered, right, were ones that were from the Torah proper. But the case of Mitzvah, guys, is what? Is it says Midrabanon over here. Now, this is one of the Yud Gimel Midos, Klalu Prat. Yud Gimel Midos, HaTorah Nidreshes is not a Midrabanon. So the Maritz Chias changes the Gersu to Medrash. You darshan it. It's not often a pasuk. By Kisei Adam, it's an open pasuk. By Nazir, it's an open pasuk. By Get, it's an open pasuk. Because of us, safer creases, right? Mamish open pasuk. Each one is an open pasuk. So Memela, it's not a drasha. Since it's not a drasha, right? By Get, by Nazir, by Kisei Adam, you know what? Afer Sotah also is not included. I left out Mitzvah. I left out Mitzvah because Mitzvah is learned out from a drasha and not what from Allah and Moshe Messina. Says the Gemara. Well, Halakha Messina is the halacha of the second. Excuse me. The halacha of the second shavings is what is from a drasha. That's one teretz. That's Rav Nachman's teretz. Rav Papa Amar another teretz. Again, what's the mechanics of the teretz? We're destroying Mitzvah, guys, and therefore Sotah should have been learned. And since it's not learned, the halacha is Afer is not included. You can't use Afer for a Sotah. Rav Papa Amar Kika Chashiv halacha Oikeves v'Oikeres, a halacha that uproots the whole din. Ha Oikeves u'Meisefes. Guys, let's go through it. Kisei Adam is ish a total uprootal of dirt. Yeah, it's not the same thing. A razor is a scissor the same as a razor? No. Is a olive branch, olive tree leaf the same as what? As a piece of parchment? No. Why was Mitzvah? You wasn't such a digression. All you did was extend the haircut, correct? So those three, you want to know why you don't learn Mitzvah? I'll tell you why you don't learn Mitzvah. Because it's not similar to the other three. All other three, right? In the first pshat, they were what? They were Josh. They were first psukim. In the second pshat, they were what? They were all uprooting completely the halacha from the pasuk. Mitzvah is not uprooting it; it's adding on to it. Therefore, it's not considered a share. Therefore, you should have learned Sotah. If in fact Sotah, the Afer Sotah could be used, Kamash Malon, that you can't. So we just destroyed the Maishai Daishaya in one of two ways. One by saying what it's a drasha. Two, it's what it is it's Maisef. Rav Ashi Amar, a third pshat, guys. Amar Hamasli money. Who's the Tana of the Mitzvah? Is Rabbi Shmuel the Darish Klali Prati. He's Rabbi Shmuel, guys. Rabbi Shmuel Darshins, the Torah Derech Klalu Prat. We know right, you can learn Derech Klalu Prat or Ribu Miyah, right? To the last money. Who's the Tana of the last? It's Rabbi Akiva. Guys, in fact, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, he doesn't dash the Torah Derech Klalu Prat. He dashes the Torah what? Derech Ribu Miyah. That's the way he dashes it. So, like Rabbi Shmuel, that comes out that the reason why here's the limud, guys. The limud is you have a pasuk, a klalu pratu klal that tells me that you should not have to cut off the armpit here of a mitzvah. That's only if you dash it, and therefore what? The halacha l'moshe misinai tells me what? That no, you do. That's not true. Rabbi Akiva, he says, you always cut off all the body hair. You don't need the halacha l'moshe misinai. The one who says that you cut off with the last is not the one who dashed the Torah klalu pratu klal. He dashed in what? I didn't need the halacha. The Torah itself did the job. Ribui meat is more inclusive than what? Than klalu pratu klal. It says the Gemara, Rabbi Kibi, the Dorish Ribu and Muta, the Tanya. It says, V'hoya b'yoyim hashvi, it'll be on the seventh day. All right. This is speaking about the Mitzvah when after he's been, the second shavings. Yigalach es kol sa'aroi riboy. Es roisha is v'esakoniv es gabes einov miyot. Ves kol sa'aroi yigaleach chazav riboy. Ribu amiyot, riba kol. All is here. My riboy, the kula gufe. Uma miyot, miyot seya shebetoich ha'choitim. Guess what? You know what? When it says, what's the miyot? You don't have to cut the Mitzvah does not have to cut off his nostril here. Okay, so guys, outside, let's say Gemara outside, you'll understand this very well. We have a kasha. What's a shaila? Can you go, if you don't have dirt, offer, can you use ish for Sotah? Good. Gemara wants to be poshed that you cannot. Where are you poshed from? Because there are three places, Kisi Adam, Nazir, and Get, where the Torah says one thing, comes along the halacha and overrides it. In our by Sotah, it says the offer clearly. If you had a halacha Sinai that ephah could be used, it should be listed among the other three. It's not. That's the place the Shiloh. Says the Gemara, no, really it could be listed among the other three, but we left it out. Why did we leave it out? Because we had Mitzvah. So we have a rule. When you leave out one thing, you need something else. What does the Gemara do? We destroy that. We destroy that. We say the following, that Mitzvah, for one of three reasons, is not comparable to these three. The first reason, these three were all psukim. The Mitzvah was a drasha, the Klal Prat. The second reason, these three were total upheavals. We totally changed, right? We said offer is not ephah is not offer, and sis is not a razor, and a an olive branch is not a parchment. Mashen came Mitzvah. What's Mitzvah, guys? It's just an additional. All you said is cut off a little more here. Or a much more lovelish thing is that it's not that Lach HaMash Sinai tells me cuts off all your hair. It's Rabbi Akiva who doesn't darshan Kalu Prat. He darshans it Ribu Miyot, and he knows you cut off all your hair not from the Lach HaMash Sinai. So this Mitzvah is not comparable to these three things at all, because the other thing, Allah is overriding. The Lach HaMash Sinai is overriding these three. Over here, it's simply what? It's simply the pasuk that overrides it. According to Rabbi Akiva, therefore, it got to be Mamayat something. It's Mamayat Nashkel here. So the bottom line is, L'chayra, at this point in time, you'd say you're Paishat the Shaila. Since Sotah is not listed among those three, therefore it must be the Sotah Ephah is not permitted. Therefore, the next piece of Gemara is very funny. Read the Gemara, my Haviyallah. What's the bottom line? The Gemara says, what's the bottom line once we're in Paishat the Shaila? The way I just explained it, we were Paishat the Shaila. Once you got Mitzvah out of the way, Sotah should have been listed among Kisi Adam and Nazir and Get. So you look at the top Tosfos, my Haviyallah, Tema. Makaboy, what's the Shaila? Even the Lav Shiurahu, Have, since it's not a share, Sotah is not a share. Why? Because Mitzvah is not a share. And Kain Tivshoy, be Paishat the Shaila. V'yesh Leimar, it's Barale Haideshire. We're not sure. Imi Shum Taimake deprecious. Is it because, like we just explained, V'lav Shiurahu, Imi Shum the Tana not nachas the Shiura, or the Tana wanted to live it out. I'm not sure I understand this teretz so good. Basically, I think what he's trying to say is it's kind of vague. Even if, in other words, the Gemara just pushed away these reasons, but maybe it's not the reason. Maybe it's not a share. So what? In other words, we want something more definitive than answers to possible terutzim. Okay? And these three and not Sotah, we're not so sure. Maybe it's not a share, maybe it's not a share, maybe. So we want to know more Pasha. Okay? The Gemara is Pasha. Says the Gemara now. My Haviyallah. Tashma, Yom Rav Huna Bar Ashi Amarav, ain't sham offer. If you don't have any offer over there, maybe voives yerek umakdish. You bring vegetables that are rotten umagdish, and you magdish it with the water, I guess, of Mayim Chayim. Take out the veloihi. Take that out because we are being placed with the shailahi. And here's how we place it. Rakroibis yerek hu dahavi offer, ephah havi offer. So dafka rakroibis of Yerokos is considered offer, but ephah is not, and you place it to shaila that ephah is not acceptable for Sotah. Take out the words v'loihi. Okay, that's the way Rashi takes it out. It makes a lot more sense then. Okay, so we are placed to shaila. Very, very, very good. Okay. Now we said that you have to put enough offer in that it should be seen on the water. You have to put enough offer in. There are three halachos where when something is a solid or something with tangibility can be seen, it has to be seen. Afa Sotah, like we're seeing over here, when you put the dirt in the water, it can't be diluted, you have to see it. The Efa Para, by the Paraduma, when you put the ashes of the Paraduma in the water, you have to see it. The Roik Yavama, as we saw in Yavamis by Chalitza, where the Yavama spits in front of the Yavam, that's Zakadim, they have to see the saliva, they have to see it. Those are the places. And Mishum Rabbi Shmuel Amru, in the name of Rabbi Shmuel, we say, Af Dam Tzipor, even the Dam Tzipor of Mitzayra. Again, the Mitzayra outside the Machne, you're taking two birds, one bird you're shechting, it's going to fall into the kli, there's going to be water in the kli, you have to be able to see the dam of the bird in the kli. My time with Rabbi Shmuel, what's the reason of Rabbi Shmuel? Now this caused me angst. The pasuk that they quote is a pasuk that's speaking about a base manuga. It's speaking about a house, right? The pasuk that you need is really pasuk vav. Listen to pasuk vav, Yudalid vav, guys. Esat sipur achaya. Again, he has two birds. The live bird, yikach isa, you take it. The eitz eretz, you take a piece of cedar wood. The shnisoy las, and you take a red thread. The esav, and you take the haisap. The tav you go ahead and dip these three things. Is it four things? Chaya, eitz eretz, is four things. The tav the esat sipur achaya, b'dam at sipur hashchuta. You go ahead, you toivel them in the dam of the tzipah hashchuta al hamayim achayim, on the water that comes from a fountain, from a well, not from a mikvah, not from a bar. It's got to be water that has its own source. Okay, that's what it says. That's what it says. Okay, so now what do we do with that? It says, so we're saying the tovel esam badam at tzipor v'tanya b'dam yochel b'dam v'loy b'mayim. I might think you just put it in the blood and not the water. Talmud Leimer, take out that base, because that base is part of the pasuk by base hamanuga. It says hamayim. So Talmud Leimer mayim. It says mayim. Imayim yochel b'mayim v'loy b'dam. I would think you dip the birds and the other stuff into water, not blood. Talmud Leimer b'dam. So how do you reconcile dam and mayim, guys? It says both. Okay, tzad. Maybe mayim. You bring water. Shedam tzipor nikabahem, that the dam of tzipor can be seen on it. In other words, that the water is not in such a volume that would go ahead and dilute the blood that you would not be able to see it. The kama, how much is that? Revius. That's the revius. Good. So Rabbi Shmuel says that we have four things that you need mamash to see it: the Sotah, the Ephapara, and the Yavama. And Rabbi Shmuel says the Mitzayra. Now the Rabbanan do not require that. What's the Rabbanan going to do with the limud of Rabbi Yishmael, guys? That it says both mayim and dam. Again, this is the rest of the block, guys. Let's get it straight. Rabbi Yishmael says, since it says bedam u mayim, I need dam that still is apparent in the water. Says the Chachamim, I don't, because they only counted those three. They did not count what? This is a fourth one. So the question is, what do the Chachamim do with the dam and the mayim of Rabbi Yishmael? So now we're going to play Talmudic tennis, right? Going back and forth. What does each one do with the other one? I never said that one before, Talmudic tennis. It's Dr. Press's influence. I never said that before. We're going to go back and forth, right? We're going to go back and forth over here. Says the Gemara. Rabbanon, what did Rabbanon do with the mayim dam and mayim of Rabbi Yishmael? I need it for itself. The hachikam arachmana. Atvul badam ubamayim. That, in other words, it has to be dipped in blood and water, but not that. You have to see the blood. It just has to have been there. For Rabbi Yishmael, how do you know you need both? If you just needed both, say v'tavel behem. B'dam u'mayim lamali. Use the pronoun. Use the pronoun of behem. Why are you specifically saying mayim and dam? L'nikar, that the dam should be recognizable on what? On the water. For Rabbanon, it could have said Bahem and it says Dam and Mayim. What did he do with the Tam of Rabbi Yishmael? Because Rachmana v'Tavel Behem, the pronoun Havamina Oh, you know what? You got to double dip. You'll dip first in water, and then you'll dip in dam, or vice versa. That when you dip it, it has to be together, but not that the dam has to be recognizable in the water, but they have to be together. Rabbi Yishmael Arvon, that they have to be mixed together. Notice, like him, the Mehem is not coming to teach me that. So it has another pasuk. The Shachar at Tzipora Achas. The pasuk says, "The Shachar at Tzipora Echas El Kli Cheres Al Mayim Chayim." You're shechting the tzipor, guys, Al Mayim Chayim. So if I'm shechting Al Mayim Chayim, I know already that the blood has to be in the water. Why do I use the Mayim and Dam for? That the Dam has to be recognizable. Says the Rabbanon. Why don't the Rabbanon? What about their pasuk? Why do the Rabbanon need the Mayim and Dam to tell me they have to mix together? It says you should shech. It says you should shech the tzipor al kli cheres al Mayim Chayim. If I'd have that pasuk that you shech from the kli cheres al Mayim Chayim, hava amina l'shachte samach lemana, shecht it al Mayim Chayim. But in fact, the blood never has to go in the water. And you'll take the arteries, the veins. So, in other words, that alone, that if you're going to shecht the tzipor on kli cheres al Mayim Chayim, I'll shecht it al Mayim Chayim. But in fact, the blood won't go in here. Therefore, I needed the Mayim Chayim, Mayim Dam to tell me that they're mixed together. So now Rabbi Shmuel's got to deal with that. Says the Gemara. Okay, then Gemara stops. That's it. Okay, the bottom line is back and forth. We have machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and the Chachamim. By the Mitzayra, do you have to, when he dips in the live bird and the Shni Selas and the Ezav and the Eitzeres, do you have to have blood there? You have to have blood there. Like the Chacham, you don't have to see the blood. Like Rabbi Yishmael, you'd have to see the blood. You have to see the blood. Now, boy mine Rabbi Yomi and Rabbi Zera. What about the following? Gedoyla umadeches esamayim. Let's say it's such a large bird, and it's going to be matcha the mayim that you're going to have a bunch of blood there. It's going to be volume of blood's going to be greater. Or kitana v'nitches. This is a shaila like Rabbi Shmuel. Kitana, if it's a small bird, v'nitches v'nei mayim, and you won't be able to see it. So I guess the second side is right. What are you going to do? You can't recognize the blood. Mahu, what's the din? Amalei. So said Rabbi Zera to Rabbi Yirmiyah. Lava minilcha. Didn't I tell you like topic nafshcha lebar mehilchasa? Don't, when it comes to shiurim of the chachamim, don't get involved. They say a shir, it's universal. But tzipa deror, we're dealing here with a wild birds, and a tzipa deror shiru rabbanon. The rabbanon ascertained ein lecha gedoyle shemadeches esamayim. There never will be one large enough that its dam would override the water. Ein lecha ketana shenichas ne'amayim. Nor would it be so small that you won't recognize it in the water. So again, either way, don't deal with that. Don't worry. Okay, now a new shaila. What goes in first? Do you first the water from the kiyar and then the ashes, or then the dirt, or the dirt first? It's mashma from Pashit of Gemara that the offer would be there first. What does it say in the Torah? Umina offer asheyia bekarka mishkan. This is the pasuk, and from the offer that will be in the karka mishkan, yikach hakoyin. The kohen will take the dirt, the nasan el hamayim, and he'll put it on the water. So it's mashma. I think I said the dirt there first. No, the water has to be there first, guys. I'm sorry if the water. It says you're going to take the offer and you're going to put it on top of the mayim. Good. Pan Rabbana. If you put the offer first, then puzzle. Then it will be puzzle. Because you want Makayim, the offer Mishkan that you're putting Al Mayim Chayim. It'll be puzzle. Reb Shimon Machshe, Reb Shimon says what? Now it says Asla Kohen is called Torah Zois, guys. In the parsha of Sotah, it's La'akev. When it says the Asa La Kohen is called Torah Zois, when it says the Torah Zois, it's being makbid. Do not deviate kihuzeh from the parsha. So since the parsha it says that the dirt karka mishkan yel mayim chayim, you're going to put it on the mayim chayim. Once you deviate, it's not Torah Zois, it's not the Torah anymore. So therefore, it's possible. Reb Shimon Machshe. Reb Shimon says, B'di'eved, Machshe is Lashon B'di'eved, meaning, I admit, the water should be in there first, and then you should go ahead and put the dirt on. However, if you put the dirt in first and the water on top, B'di'eved will be kosher. My time with Reb Shimon, where's the Reb Shimon know this from? Because it says, the Chsiv, it says by the Eifa of the Paraduma, the Lokach l'tamei me'afa sreifas achatas, and the Tamei will take from the sreifas achatas, the ish, the nasan alav mayim chayim el keli. Now, guys, listen what it says. He's taking ish, the nasan alav, and he's putting on the ish mayim chayim el keli. So the word alav is mashma that what, right? That the eif is there first by paraduma. Guys, let's get it straight by paraduma. Then we're going to make the connection between paraduma and Sotah. So if it says by paraduma that you should go ahead and you can go ahead, v'nasan alav mayim chayim el keli, mashma, you're going to put on the efer, on the ashes of the para, you're going to put water. V'tanya amrav Shimon v'chi afahu b'alei efahu. It says the word v'lochu l'tamei me'afas sreifas achatas. Now, why does it say me'afas sreifas achatas? By paraduma, it's not an offer, it's efer. B'alei efahu. Elashina akosim b'mashmai. The Torah by paraduma changes from the lashon of efer to offer to create a relationship to Sotah. Lodani menu, to learn from paraduma to Sotah, because there is shava. Nemer kan, it says by the paraduma offer. V'nemer lahalan, it says by Sotah offer. Ma lahalan, by the Sotah, right? Offer al gabe mayim. You got to put the offer on the mayim. Afkan Sotah by paraduma offer al gabe mayim. In other words, really, the best way to do it is put the water in first. And by Sotah, you're supposed to put the water on top. I'm sorry. Put the water in first. By Sotah, you're going to take the offer from the Mishkan, you're going to put on top of it. So too by paraduma, where it says lashon of offer, even though it's afer, you should put the water in first and then put the ish, the afer on top of it. That's by what? By Sotah to paraduma. What about the other way? Now, by paraduma, guys, it said v'nasan alav, that you could put what? The water on top of it. Umakan by paraduma, it's not ma'akif, what? But in hikdim ha'afal amayim kosher, aflahalon hikdim afal amayim b'di'evet is going to be kosher. Good. Okay, so let's go through it again. Clearly, by Sotah, the pasuk says the water should be in first, and you should take the offer of the Mishkan and put on top of it. Therefore, by paraduma, where it was mishana the lashon, instead of saying afer, it said offer, you should put the water in first and the ish on top of it. However, by paraduma, we know if you would put the ish in first and then the water on top of the ish, it would work. Huadin by Sotah, if you put the offer in first, b'di'eved, you put the water on top of it, it'll work. Good. Where do you see that? Minalam says the Gemara. Trei kroksi. We got two psukim. It says v'nasan alav mayim chayim. It says by paraduma v'nasan alav mayim chayim. So we see that wad alma ha'efa bereisha uksiv mayim chayim el keli. It says mayim chayim to the kli. That alma. What do you see? That the mayim should be first. How do you reconcile the two? Alav is mashma, the eif is there first, and mayim chayim is mashma, the water is first. Says the Gemara. Hakeitzad. How do you reconcile the two? Imratza, if he wants zed noisen, imratza zed noisen, whichever he wants, you should do. Now comes along Gzeir Shabbos, says really not that way. Really, you should go ahead and put the offer first. Okay, you should put the mayim first. Now what? So therefore, Rabbi Shimon with his Gzeir Shabbos from paraduma, where it says v'nasan alav, you can put the water on top of the afer. Who adin by Sotah. Now, Chacham obviously do not hold like that because they say it's puzzle. If you put the offer in first, it'll be puzzle. What do they do with the limit of Rabbi Shmuel? Rabbanan, who said that the Sotah, even b'di'eved, if you put the offer in first, is going to be puzzle. They hold by paraduma also, it's going to be puzzle. They hold by paraduma also. By paraduma, if you put the ish in first and the water on top, will be puzzle. I have a stira. It says v'nasan alav, and it says amayim al chayim, mashma what? Which way are you doing it? Says the Gemara, v'nasan alav mayim chayim al keli is dafka. The water should be there first. Mayim chayim al keli, that's dafka. It should be first. You know what a love teaches me? Le arvan. Guys, here's what a love means. Watch my hand. I have water in this cup. I put the ish in the water, right? So I put the waters first. Mayim Chaim Kelly. Then I have the ish on top, a love. I take the water that's on the bottom, I put my hand in, and then what do? I put it a love. So I'm using it to mix it, but not that what to put it there, put the water on top of it. The water's underneath it, but to mix it quell, that's what I'm doing. Says the Gemara Ve'ema, let's say the opposite. Let's say a love is the main thing to have you should have the ashin first, and Mayim Chamakeli is what? Is the secondary. And you know what I'll use the Mayim Chali means? It has to be a Kli Rishon. Guys, that the water used for Paraduma has to come directly from the source. And you won't be able to use a Kli Sheni or Kli Shlishi, right? A well, right? You have to be the first. Says the Gemara, no. Mamatzina B'chol Mokoin is Hamaksha, the one that's Maksha is Lamaila. Afkan by Paraduma, the Maksha is Lamaila. We find always the thing that makes something kosher is always above. Rashi tells us, guys. List Rashi. Mamatzina b'chol makom b'soita machshel amayla. Afuhu amachshel samayim live like I saw. It's the dirt that's going to go ahead and make the mayim work. V'chein dam tzipa shel mitzoira. It's the dam shemachshel samayim lahazah, which makes the water roy to spritz. Afkan. So to over here, afu machshel samayim. Really should be the Efer is machshel the mayim. That the Efer is machshel the mayim, and therefore what? Okay, so we have a machlokes. Rabbi Shimon, according to the Chachamim, it's dafka. You got to put what? The water in first, and then the offer. Like Rabbi Shimon with the Evid will be great. Wish everyone a great Shabbos. Thank you for listening. Mitzvah Shabbos. Avi, when are you coming back?